What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video on 365 Analytics. And today it's week 3 picks. Week 3 picks. We're already in week 3. Already 2 weeks in, have had a crazy 2 weeks. We're gonna show the power rankings later as well. But we've had a pretty crazy 2 weeks here. I mean, we have teams like Saints. The Saints absolutely on a tear right now. Cardinals blowing out the Rams. Rams dealing with injuries. Ravens at 0-2. Niners suffering a bunch of injuries. I mean, we got a lot going on. Like Sam Darnold's on an absolute run right now. We got a lot going on. But yeah, it's week 3 picks. It's Wednesday, and let's have some fun and let's get through this. So Thursday night football is Pats Jets AFC East for the second week in a row in MetLife Stadium. And I think it's a negative 6.5 spread for the New York Jets in this game. And I think the Patriots might cover that. It's a tough pick for me. The Patriots have been playing well the first 2 weeks, even though they lost Seattle last week. They were competitive. They looked like a pretty good football team. The Jets, they lost to the Niners week 1, obviously, and just squeaked past the Titans in week 2. But even with that, I will be taking the New York Jets. Like that. I will be taking the New York Jets to win this game. I think at home, MetLife Stadium, prime time, the Rodgers home primetime debut of 2024. I think they have the edge here. New England just lost Jawan Bentley for the year. CJ Mosley's questionable for this game. I mean, this will be a close game. I think AFC's rivalry Pats Jets always play close, but in the end, I am giving the Jets the edge at home. And then we have Giants Browns. I mean, the Giants 0-2. They lost a field goal only game to the Washington Commanders last week in a 21-18 loss. Daniel Jones has not looked good. Malik Neighbors, though, had a breakout game against the Commanders and looked absolutely phenomenal on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns just squeaked past the Jacksonville Jaguars. Deshaun Watson has still not been showing up, but they are 1-1 nonetheless. And I am going to take them to go 2-1. I think at home in the dog pound, they're just the better team than the Giants. I mean, they're the better football team straight up, and I just think that they get it done. Defense is solid, obviously, and I think they get their second in a row. I think this will be a closer game than people think. It will be like a 2017, 2014 game, something like that in that area. But I think Cleveland gets it done, and they win against New York Giants at home. And then we have the toss up of the week, right? Has to be the toss up of the week. Absolutely has to be. Chicago, Indianapolis. We have some good games this week, but this one's my toughest to pick by far. Chicago and Indy. The Bears. 1-1. Lost on Sunday Night Football to the Houston Texans. Caleb Williams has looked pretty bad to start the year. Pretty bad, to be honest. In Indianapolis, they just lost to Malik Willis led Green Bay Packers. And Anthony Richardson was absolutely horrendous. It was terrible for my fantasy team. And Jonathan Taylor has been mid so far. So this is a really close game. I have no idea who's going to win this game. But I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts at home to win. The reason for that being, I think Jonathan Taylor finally gets it going. I think this is his game. I think it's his week to get stuff right. And Anthony Richardson rebound at Lucas Oil Stadium at home versus a rookie quarterback who has not looked good. Keenan Allen still banged up. I mean, I think Indianapolis is the team right now to win in this game, and I think they cover a -1 spread. This is gonna be a really close game, though. It's gonna be a really close game, but I like Indianapolis at home to get their first win of the year after starting 0-2. And then 2-0 versus 2-0. Who would have thought? Houston Texans with CJ Stroud, the receiving core, Joe Mixon, D'Amico Ryans, Laramie Tunsil, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Aziz Al-Shire, Derek Stingley, Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie, a star-studded defense, a very star-studded defense and offense and team overall. And then we have Minnesota, who Sam Darnold is absolutely on a tear right now, coming off a massive win versus San Francisco. where Debo Samuel went out and obviously Christian McCaffrey wasn't playing. But Sam Darnold's been there. He's been playing very well. Like he's been playing very well. But I think the hot streak ends here, and I'm picking my first road team to win. I think Houston is just a better team naturally in this situation. I think they go to 3-0. The rest of their division's 0-2. They're going to be motivated to get this done. CJ Stroud's going to have a good game. I just think that Sam Darnold, we've seen this before from him in the hot start 3-0 a few years ago it was with Carolina. We've seen the hot starts with him before. We've seen this type of stuff. And it's never amounted to anything in the long run of the season. Jay Jettis banged up. Jordan Addison banged up, possibly out for this game. I mean, they could be in a receiving core, Jalen Naylor, and who else? They have one more, Powell. Brandon Powell's in that receiving core, right? I have to fact check that, but they'd be in a pretty meh receiving core. Aaron Jones did not have the best week last week. I think Houston gets it done. I do think Jefferson will play nonetheless, but I think Houston gets it done on the road, and Minnesota drops 2-1 while Houston goes to 3-0. And then, okay, will I fall into the trap? This game is another close one, another tough one to pick. Philadelphia Eagles, who just came off an absolute horrible loss, heartbreaker to the Atlanta Falcons at home on Monday Night Football just 2 days ago, where Saquon Barkley dropped the game-winning first down on the rollout pass from Jalen Hurts, and they dropped to 1-1. The defense did not look good. Kirk Cousins was meh the entire game. Meh the entire game. And then that last drive, he found Darnell Mooney a few times. I think he found Kyle Pitts on a catch. And then Drake London cashed in the end zone. And the Falcons took the lead. Philadelphia dropped that one. But the New Orleans Saints, let's talk about those guys. The New Orleans Saints. You guys are going to see later. I have them a big jump in my power rankings. A big jump for those guys in my power rankings. Hosting the Philadelphia Eagles after an absolute blowout win over the Dallas Cowboys in week 2, where Alvin Kamara scored 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr is on a roll. He's hitting Michael Jackson dances. Rashid Shaheed's on a roll. The defense is on a roll. They've scored on every single, like, I saw a crazy stat. They've scored on every single drive. They have like the fourth most points ever in the first 2 weeks of the season. And they just beat one of the premier teams in the NFC consensusly on the road. This one's tough. And I know there's gonna be a lot of people on New Orleans Saints after the start they're having. There's gonna be a lot of people on him. Clint Kubiak's on an absolute tear with that offense right now. But I just can't do it. I think Philly needs a rebound. I think they need one. Absolutely need one after the bad loss to to Atlanta. I think they need one on the road. I think Jalen Hurts has a good game. Saquon gets back on track after the bad drop. He had a good game, but it was a bad drop to finish the game. AJ Brown will not play in this game, most likely. They haven't officially ruled him out, but he won't play. He basically won't play. He won't play. I think Philadelphia gets it done on the road. A lot of people will be on New Orleans, and I think that shuts down after this week, and I think the Saints lose. You'll see my power rankings though. I have New Orleans on an absolute big jump. I have a lot of movement in my power rankings this week, like up, down, a lot of movement between these teams. Okay. Chargers, Steelers, 2-0 versus 2-0. Jim Harbaugh has the Chargers at 2-0. One thing, Justin Herbert did not practice today. He did not practice today. He's technically questionable, but I think Herbert suits up. I believe I saw a quote where Harbaugh said in the conference today that he wasn't worried. I believe, but I can't. He wasn't worried about him playing. I believe I saw that, but in Pittsburgh, I'm gonna say this right now. No Herbert. Justin Fields is probably gonna start. They're gonna even if Russell Wilson gets healthy, they're probably gonna start. They're gonna ride the hot hand and start Justin Fields. Pittsburgh at 2-0. Not really convincing wins, like low scoring wins where they beat some pretty meh teams. I mean, Atlanta looked solid last week, obviously, but they weren't good against Pittsburgh. And Denver has looked absolutely horrendous so far. So I'm gonna take Pittsburgh. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh either way. Herbert plays or not, I'm taking Pittsburgh. If Herbert doesn't play, 100% Pittsburgh. Lock it in. They might be my lock of the week. If Herbert doesn't play, there's a chance I would change him to the lock of the week, but I'm not gonna. They're not my lock of the week. Either way, probably. But if Herbert doesn't play, Pittsburgh, set in stone, lock it in. I'm picking them. Either way, I'm taking the Steelers, but it'll be a closer game with Herbert in. Obviously, we all know that. J.K. Dobbins has been an absolute tear, so even if Herbert doesn't play, I think the Chargers can be competitive. But I think Mike Tomlin at home, 1 p.m. game, like it just feels like a Pittsburgh win to me, and I'm gonna take it. Oh, I forgot to go over my record. My record's absolutely horrendous right now. Last week was 6-10. 6-10 is horrible. That was like one of my worst weeks I've ever had. And 17-15 overall. Mm, horrible. Horrible. Now 0-2 on the locks, 0-2 on the upsets. That's absolutely terrible. We're gonna get this up this week. I forgot to talk about that. Like, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. 6-10 last week. That was absolutely disgraceful. But Denver, Tampa. I don't I don't think we really need an explanation for that, do we? Don't really need an explanation for that. Take Tampa Bay at home. Bo Nix has been horrible so far. Not horrible, but well, I you could say horrible. Bo Nix has been bad so far. Denver scored zero, I believe, against Pittsburgh last week in a game where I thought Denver would keep it close. They scored zero. Justin Fields threw one touchdown. Darnell Washington, I believe. And Tampa Bay is they're hot right now. They're hot. They're playing good football. They just beat Detroit on the road in Detroit. I mean, they're 2-0. Baker is playing well. I'm so happy for Baker, man, after he got drove out of Cleveland for the bad year when the injury he had. I felt terrible for him, and I'm so glad that he's balling out in Tampa now, got a big extension. I'm happy for him, and I'm taking Tampa Bay at home. Easily. Give me Tampa Bay. Okay. Green Bay at Tennessee. This is another tough one because I feel like Malik Willis obviously led the Packers to a win last week, and the Colts didn't look good in that game. Either way, the Colts didn't look good. Tennessee, Will Levis, bad start. Bad start to the year. Not a good start to his sophomore season. Brian Callahan was like, "What the F are you doing on the sideline?" Because he did it 2 weeks in a row, two bad turnovers. I like to see that from Brian Callahan, former Bengals coordinator, obviously. I like to see that from Brian Callahan, that fire from a head coach that a head coach can have. I love that. This one's tough. Because in Nashville, it's tough. But I feel like Jordan Love did practice today. Jordan Love practiced today. I don't. I'm not saying I think he'll go. I'm not saying I think he'll suit up. But Malik Willis revenge game in Nashville. I don't know, man. The vibes give me Green Bay to win again. Malik Willis revenge game or Jordan Love suiting up. I mean, I'm taking Green Bay. Will Levis hasn't looked good. Will Levis hasn't shown me anything yet. He hasn't shown me anything. Tennessee lost to the Jets, where, quite frankly, the Jets didn't play perfect. They got out of there alive. Like the Jets won. Braylon Allen had two touchdowns, but the Jets didn't play perfect, and Tennessee still lost. I don't know. I like Callahan. I like Callahan so far. I think he's doing well. But Will Levis, can't trust him. Gotta take Green Bay. Tennessee drops to 0-3, and it's hazardous mode after 0-3 start. So changes need to be made at that point. Andy Dalton versus Gardner Minshew. Obviously, the news: Bryce Young has been benched. It's not him under center now. Dave Canales announced the decision on Monday. It was Monday, I believe. Dave Canales announced that Bryce Young would no longer be the starter. And Las Vegas, obviously coming off a massive win where I picked Baltimore as a lock. Carolina coming off a massive loss where I picked them as an upset over the Chargers. I honestly think I think Dalton will play better than Bryce Young, and they'll give like as soon as that happens, Bryce Young will be getting hate on hate on hate from the NFL world. But I still think Vegas at Allegiant gets the win. I mean, at home, coming off a big win against Baltimore, where they could have beat the Chargers week one if Antonio Pierce maybe didn't punt. Could be 2-0 right now. I think Gardner gets it done, and I think they beat the Panthers in somewhat convincing fashion. I think Dalton plays better than Bryce Young has. That the Panthers looked like I was watching them on Red Zone. Obviously, the Bengals didn't play till 4:30 Eastern, but it's Bryce Young, man. He hasn't looked good, and I'm not counting him out. Like I'm not counting him out to do something in the future, but he just hasn't looked good. Obviously, the Panthers are a dumpster fire, so it's probably not all his fault. But man, okay. Then we have Miami, Seattle. Miami's 1-1. I picked them on Thursday night last week. It did not go well. My picks in general did not go well last week. As you can see, the 6-10 record, 17-15 is absolutely abysmal. We need a good week. We need a good week. Miami at Seattle. Mm. It's Skylar Tua obviously went to IR. Tua had the big concussion. That's the story around the NFL where I believe it's his fourth concussion of his career. And Seattle's 2-0 hosting Miami. This is gonna be a close game. I don't have any doubts about it. Skylar Thompson's quarterback. It's gonna be a lot of people on Seattle, but I'm not gonna be one of them. Skylar Thompson on the road. Seattle eked out a win against New England with a controversial call at the end that not many people were talking about. The defensive pass interference. They could have lost that game. Not many people were talking about it, but I'm taking the Fins. In Seattle, 4:05 Eastern. Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Achan, they still got talent. Mostert possibly will be back, maybe. Two obviously on IR right now. I think this is a win that Mike McDaniel knows the Finns are going to need down the line if they want to make any run with Tua being out for 4 games at least 4 games, possibly more with the IR designation. But I think the Finns get this done. I think they get it done. I think they go in Seattle and they win a close game, like a semi-medium scoring game, where I think the Finns will be good. And I think Achan, they'll just keep feeding the hot hand. Achan has been very good in the first 2 weeks, and I think they get it done. Or they also brought in Tyler Huntley. I think Skylar Thompson's the starter anyway. Skylar Thompson will be the starter, but Tyler Huntley, if Skylar Thompson stinks it up and plays horrible, I think Tyler Huntley could be that guy down the line when he learns the system in like 2, maybe 3 weeks. But yes, yes, yes. So then hold on, we got news coming in right now. Jordan Love just spoke with reporters and said he's giving himself the week, but hopeful to play Sunday against the Titans. Right as I'm recording this, that just came in. Matt Schneidman on Twitter. Jordan Love spoke with reporters and said he's hopeful. He said give himself the week, but he's hopeful. I said even with Willis, I'm taking the Packers. I don't think Jordan Love's gonna suit up, but if Jordan Love suits up, it's gonna be the Packers. And then we go into Detroit versus Arizona. Detroit, bad loss. Goff didn't play well. That's just all around. Tampa Bay didn't play perfect. The Lions played even worse. Jared Goff, bad. The bad check down on fourth down at the end of the game. It was a bad performance from them. The Cardinals beat the Rams 41-10, and it was the Marvin Harrison Jr. breakout game. Two semi-weak defenses going at it. The Detroit defense is a little bit better, I think. Obviously, DJ Reader's back in the fold now. Melifonwu might be healthy this week. He might be able to go. Terrion Arnold playing some solid ball. Carlton Davis. They have a better defense, and I think that they'll do better than the Rams. And I think that they'll get back on track and beat the Arizona Cardinals. Got on one. They'll get back on track and beat the Cardinals, I think. I think it's just destiny. I think they kind of have to get it done because they start 1-2. They got Seattle next week. Say Seattle's 3-0. I think they're in Seattle, I believe, next Monday night. Doubleheader next Monday night. I think they're in Seattle. But yeah, they got to get it done. Cardinals defense is semi weak. They have some solid players on there, but they're semi weak. They held the Rams pretty good, but the Detroit should get this win and they should get it. So I'll take Detroit. And we have a interesting game. The 0-2 Baltimore Ravens need a win. They need at least they got a tough schedule coming up. They got Dallas versus Buffalo at Cincinnati. Dallas Cowboys obviously I talked about it with the Saints game. A bad loss, coming off of a bad loss, and they're hosting it. Tom Brady on the call for this game, I assume again the third straight week where Brady's on the call for a Cowboys game. Ravens need this. This would be a good game. America's game of the week. Lamar Jackson versus Dak Prescott. Both teams need it. I'd say both teams really need it. I'd say the Ravens need it a little bit more, but both teams really need it. I'm gonna take Cowboys at home. At home in a game where they're coming off a really bad loss. I think it's darker. That gray. They're coming off a really bad loss. Baltimore's coming off a really bad loss too, though. I don't know. This game's really a toss up. I could see either of these teams winning it. I could see Baltimore coming out and absolutely beating the brakes off the Cowboys. But I just think Dak and CD at home, they don't let that happen, and I think they get it done at home. Then we have 49ers Rams, NFC West rivalry. The Niners have had the Rams number over the years, and I'm going to take them here. Obviously, no Debo, no McCaffrey as he's on IR. Debo Samuel will be out probably 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. Not on IR, but he will be out a decent amount of time. The Rams dealing with a lot of injuries right now. I mean, Puka Nacua obviously on IR. Cooper Kupp will be out this week, maybe a few weeks after that. Offensive line's decimated. Jonah Jackson went to IR. Safety John Johnson went to IR. I mean, they're absolutely decimated with the injuries right now, and I just think that that gives the 49ers the edge, and the 49ers have had the Rams number over the years anyway. They beat the Rams like at home on the road. They've done it. So I think they get it done. Brock Purdy has a rebound game. Jordan Mason plays well yet again. He's had two straight 100-yard rushing weeks. I believe he had a 100-yard week last week. I believe, could be wrong, but he was close. Um, yeah, I think they get it done. I mean, Stafford, he's the only guy right now. It's Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington, and Tyler Johnson right now in there. So he's Um, yeah, I'll take him. Obviously, still no Aaron Donald because, well, still no Aaron Donald. No Aaron Donald for the rest of the time because he's retired. But yeah, I'm gonna take the 49ers. My Bengals lost to these guys last week in bad fashion. I don't know, man. Who's stopping these guys from repeating? They can't keep getting away with it. On the road on Sunday Night Football in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in a game with the Atlanta Falcons coming off a win. I don't know, man. I just gotta take the Chiefs. You can't bet against Mahomes. I don't want to sound like Tony Romo, but you can't bet against Mahomes. Can't do it. I've learned the hard way. I picked the Chiefs last week. Obviously, that was one of my wins in CES. If I picked the Bengals, I would have been 5-11. I mean, 6-10 was a bad record, and the Chiefs were one of them I picked against my team. But man, Casey, I'm gonna take the Falcons. I'm gonna take the Chiefs. Falcons. I'm gonna take the Chiefs, and I think they get it done. They start 3-0, and Mahomes gets done again. Okay, Jacksonville, Buffalo. Hear me out. Hear me out. I picked against the Bills. Second week in a row, I picked against Buffalo. Second week in a row, I picked against Buffalo. The Jaguars. Josh Allen is 1-2 versus the Jaguars. The Jaguars have beat him two straight times. The last time Josh Allen beat the Jacksonville Jaguars was a 3-point win in his rookie year. In 2021, Josh Allen lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars 9-0, or it was 9-6, something like that. It was like a crazy weird game. That was year one Trevor Lawrence, Urban Meyer season. Last year in London, the Jaguars eked out a win against Buffalo. The Jaguars, this new look Trevor Lawrence Jacksonville Jaguars team, just in my opinion, has the Buffalo Bills number. And I remember last season, I picked the Jaguars to beat the Bills, and I was right. That was my upset of the week during that week last year. And it's going to be my upset of the week again. The Jaguars over the Bills on Monday Night Football. I think the Jaguars are 0-2. They have to get it done. Buffalo's playing some solid ball. Josh Allen wasn't anything special versus Miami last week, though. James Cook was. James Cook was very special last week against Miami. He was amazing. Obviously, Tua went out. They still played well. Even Tua was horrible. Defense was picking off Tua left and right. Tua was horrible when he was in the game. Obviously, prayers for the head injury. Prayers for Tua anyway. But Tua wasn't good. I'm picking Jacksonville as my upset of the week. And yeah, I think they're gonna go 3-1 versus Josh Allen. They have his number. I just think I like the Jags as a matchup against the Bills. I picked them last year. I'm picking them again, and I'm riding with them again. I got the upset win last year. I'm gonna get it again. And then we have a Monday Night Football doubleheader. Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, the LSU matchup. This is why this is on Monday Night Football. I guarantee you, fans from Louisiana are going to be tuning into this one. Countrywide. Every LSU fan, they're going to be looking at this. I'm taking my Bengals. Obviously, we're 0-2. Not the horrible loss, the heartbreaking loss to the Chiefs last week, where Dejon Anthony pass interference. They had the Chiefs on the ropes. So obviously, I think we outplayed the Chiefs. Mahomes got it done in the end, though. You never want to give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes in that situation. Absolutely pitiful. I mean, Burrow looked well. Yosivas, 2 touchdowns. Chase was getting locked up. Chase obviously lost his cool against McDuffie on the hip drop tackle. I think it was a hip drop tackle, but nonetheless, it's just you shouldn't be losing your cool in that situation. If you're Jamar, I'm not going to defend him. Even Burrow was backing away. The Bengals Chief rivalry is something, man. Burrow and Mahomes always play close. And I don't think this game's going to be a blowout. I think this is the Chase breakout game, though. I think Jamar gets it going here. T. Higgins possibly back on the field. We'll see tomorrow. It's Wednesday when I'm recording this. Tomorrow on Thursday, the Bengals hit the practice field. And I think T. Higgins possibly might play in this game. He might be back. He went through his usual pregame warm up against Kansas City, and I think that's a good sign for him this week with the hamstring injury to make his season debut. Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill are dealing with injuries. Chris Jenkins Jr. probably we'll see if he plays. He got surgery probably about almost 2 weeks ago now. He hasn't played this season yet. McKinley Jackson still hasn't played either. He's on the IR. He'll be back potentially week 5. But they brought in Lawrence Guy. Lawrence Guy was brought in yesterday as a free agent. He played for the Patriots last year. Veteran, solid piece, solid depth piece. I like the signing. Yeah, I think the Bengals have to get it done here. If they lose this game, life support. But I think they will get it done. They've been here before. We've been here before. Burrow's confident. The team's confident. Zach's confident. You obviously don't like to see the 0-2 starts because that means you're most likely gonna have to go on the road to a hard place in the playoffs. But Cincinnati, they get this game done. I have no doubts about it. And I think at home, Monday Night Football, Ring of Honor game in front of your fans, this is a win. This is a win. And they have to get this done, and I think they do. So I'm happy. And yeah. And that's the picks right there. That's the picks for the week. That's the picks. Jets, Cleveland, Indy, Houston, Philly, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Vegas, Miami, Detroit, Dallas, San Fran, KC, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati. Obviously, I'm 17-15 record on the year, which is absolutely abysmal. This is the week we get that up. 0-2 on the locks, 0-2 on the upsets. Terrible. Terrible start to the year. Week 1 was meh. Week 2 was horrible. As for my lock of the week, and as for my upset of the week, there you go. Tampa Bay over Denver as my lock of the week. Baker has been on a tear, and they get that done. And my upset of the week is Jacksonville over Buffalo. And there's the picks. That's what I think happens this week. I was pretty bad last week, man. 6-10. 6-10, just absolutely horrible. I We gotta do better than that. We gotta get a double digit win week at least this week. Bye weeks are coming up in week 5, I believe, the first week of bye week. So yeah, that's the picks. And let's jump right into power rankings. I'm gonna go pretty in depth on power rankings this week. I mean, I have a lot of movement in the power rankings, so I'm gonna explain some stuff and let's get into it. And here are my power rankings. Obviously, we still have the Kansas City Chiefs at number 1. That's not changing at all. Texans go up 1 with the win over Chicago. They go to number 2 at 2-0. Buffalo goes to 3 at 2-0. They jump 5. And 4, 5, and 6 is where we get spicy. Buccaneers at 4. Baker's on a tear. They go up 6 from number 10 last week. Vikings go up 13 with the win over San Francisco. Saints go up 16 with the win over Dallas. Those two teams are interchangeable. I don't care if you put one at 5, one at 6, but Derek Carr and Sam Darnold, the the way that they're playing right now, those two teams, I have to put those teams that high. It might be unwarranted for some people, but I mean, dude, the way that they're playing Derek Carr and Sam Darnold, the two like Sam Darnold, man, and Derek Carr, the way that they're playing, the way that those teams are playing, I have to put them that high. 49ers go down 5 with the loss. Lions down 4. Chargers up 11. I don't know about that one. I mean, obviously, it went over Carolina and Bryce Young isn't very convincing. But I mean, 2-0, you have to justify it. Same with Seattle. Those two are interchangeable as well. Dallas at 11 with the bad loss. Steelers at 12. Falcons at 13 plus 12. So my thing is here, plus 12. Some people will be like, plus 12. Why are you going to Falcons up 12 with only a 1 point win on Monday Night Football? The thing is, I feel like I want the Eagles at 14. I want the Eagles in that ballpark, but I also want the Falcon. I want to justify I can't justify putting the Falcons under the Eagles. Like that might be a little too high of a jump, but I can't justify putting Atlanta under Philadelphia. So I have to put them above the Eagles. And I put them one spot above the Eagles, obviously, because that's like the closest I could go. But yeah, Jets at 15 minus one even with the win. Browns at 16 minus one with the win. Bengals at 17. My Bengals, obviously, with the loss to Kansas City. I could justify putting them higher. I could justify putting them higher, but I mean, 0-2, I kind of have to put him that low. 0-2, I have no doubts that I'm going to skyrocket him back up into the teens with a win this week. Cardinals plus 8 with a convincing win. Raiders plus 9 with also a convincing win. Those two teams put on a tear, winning against good football teams. The Raiders beating the Baltimore Ravens and the Cardinals beating the Rams in a blowout. The Cardinals get a win over Detroit this week. I haven't if the Cardinals beat Detroit this week in a convincing fashion, they're going up. They're in this ballpark, like 10, 9, 8. They're in this ballpark. They're gonna be right there, like in that area. They're gonna have to go there, so they could take a big jump next week if they get a win. Ravens at 20 minus 13. Obviously, the 0-2 start. I gave them the benefit of the doubt with the close loss to Kansas City, but when you lose to Vegas in that fashion and blowing a 10-point lead, you have to go down 13. Packers go stay at 21 with the win from Malik Willis. Bears down 6. The Bears could jump with a win over Indy, but the Bears just haven't looked that convincing at all to me. Caleb Williams hasn't looked good. Dolphins at 23. The reason Miami's at 23 is because the injury to Tua, so he won't be out. He will be out for a few weeks. That's why they're at 14. I'm taking injuries into account. Patriots at 24. They go nowhere. Not down, not up. Jags minus 2 with obviously the loss to Cleveland, where Cleveland didn't even play well. Colts at 26 down 9. Rams at 27 down 15. Again, injuries impact that positioning. Injuries to the O line, John Johnson, the defense, the wide receivers. Obviously, they're that low with the injuries taking into account. Commies at 28. They go plus 1. They didn't really win in a convincing fashion. So, I mean, Titans minus 2 and Broncos, Giants, Panthers at the bottom 3, dwelling there still. That's like the unanimous, that should be the consensus bottom 3. Panthers, Giants, Broncos, 32, 31, 30. That should be the consensus in that area. But that's going to do it for the week 3 episode of Picks and Power Rankings. I hope you guys enjoyed. and let's have a better week of picks. And it was a bad week too. Let's have a better week. So I hope you guys have a good night. Patch Jets tomorrow night, and that's it. I'll see you guys next time.